Station 51, engine 27, engine 32, truck 105.
You're listening to The Fire Break with Steve Wolf. Welcome to The Fire Break. I'm Steve Wolf. As you know, The Fire Break is sponsored by Team Wildfire, developing innovative technology for suppressing and containing wildfires, stop them from burning down the world. Well, we got to find out where the fires are before we can attack them, right? And I've got Thomas Grübler here. And Thomas is the CEO and the president of OroraTech. And anyone who's watched this show or has anything to do with the fire world, you know what OroraTech is. It's the company that's putting a constellation of satellites around the world for letting us know where the fires are and what they're doing. Thomas, welcome to the Fire Break. How are you?
Thanks, Steve. Thanks for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be up there, to be in Colorado. And yeah, you've seen last week, we opened our first office here in Denver. And we have created a separate entity here, OroraTech USA. And I'm very happy to lead it now and lead the expansion. It's like in the early days with OroraTech in Munich when I founded it. Now we're here. We again have a tiny team and building it up and yeah, bringing our solution over there.
So tell me about your solution. And congratulations on expanding to the US where we have a lot of wildfires for you to spot.
Thank you. Yeah, our solution is twofold. So on the one hand, our solution is targeted directly at the fire chiefs, at the first responders in the field. And what they need to know is where is the fire? How does it behave? Where will it be in the next hours? We just heard during the panel at our opening that very often they get 911 calls about potential fires. They need to go there, but then there is no fire. And sometimes there's so many calls, so it's very hard to respond to every call, and very often then you're missing the one cause which have the real fire. And our tool actually allows you to spot these fires and also to assess how is the fire risk, how would a fire, if there is a fire, would grow.
Okay, so you're doing predictive modeling.
Exactly. Would it be a problem if there's a fire or not? So there are two ways. And then, of course, there's the second part of our technology, and that's satellite observation. We use, on the one hand, all the existing satellites out there, about 30, already fused into one single product. So you don't need to switch around between different systems, between different satellites. Right. There's one single information, and we complement this data with our proprietary own constellation.
So you have your own proprietary constellation.
Exactly.
And how many satellites are in there now?
Up there, at the moment, we have 10 satellites.
Wow. That's expensive, right, to put satellites up?
Medium expensive.
Medium expensive.
Medium expensive, okay. Yeah.
All right.
We found a way how to do this in a cheaper way. So we found a way how to build and miniaturize satellites with thermal infrared cameras so that they actually can provide a similar service like aerial observation, but more effectively and actually for our clients even cheaper.
Wow. Now, I guess when people are looking at wildfires on satellite, you know, their big concern is, you know, how recent is this picture, right? How often does it update? And that's been previously one of the problems, is that you could get an update every 24 hours or something, which was not tactically helpful. What are we up to now in terms of our recency capability?
Yeah, so today we're still not where we want to be, but we launched a constellation of 8 satellites just a few weeks ago with Rocket Lab, and we have chosen a specific time of the day where you have no pictures at the moment. So it will be at about 4 p.m. and 4 a.m. The satellites are always global, so they fly around the globe from north to south pole, and the globe is turning, but they stay stable to the sun. Oh. So basically, they always cross the equator at about 4 a.m. or 4 p.m. And then it's a little bit later, earlier, if you go up or down.
Right.
But this is the late afternoon and the time where wildfires are the most dangerous. They're also progressing fastest, and also most fires basically occur. And the early morning is very important because firefighters also go to work at 8 or 9 in the morning, and they need to know what to do. So they are all creating an incident action plan in the morning. And for this incident action plan, you need an accurate map. And this you can do with this 4 a.m. overpass, because this is taking the fire at the lowest intensity. It's the coldest time of the night. And with this, you can perfectly pre-plan your actions.
I see. So if you're showing someone that 4 a.m. shot, you're saying, this is as good as it's going to be today. From here, it's only getting worse.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But there you also know you can then perfectly simulate how it will grow and how it will behave.
I see. And how do you model the fire progression?
Modeling is based on a complex algorithm with a lot of AI, where we use our satellite detections to model AI and improve it on a continuous basis. And it also uses ground fuel data. So many of our clients provided us their observations of ground fuels, and it actually gets the best simulation the better the starting point is you have. Okay. So the better you know where the fire front is, including the fire intensity, we call it fire radiative power, the better you can simulate the progress.
I see. And when you're getting local data from people who are near the fire, you're getting vegetation conditions. So you're getting the type of vegetation, the fuel moisture.
Yes. Clients do this quite often. They even go in the forest and map the fuel, or they fly above the forest with special airplanes and map the fuel. And this data all feeds in together with the weather data, wind data, local wind simulations. If it goes, the elevation, all this is fused together. But at the end, you need to know where's the fire. And the more accurately you know where the fire is, the better you can simulate.
Right.
And with this, we basically, we're now building a continuous situation awareness for fire, because we simulate between the spots where we have no observation, we can simulate basically.
I see. And then you're able to discern between spots that are continuous heat sources like factories or flare towers.
Exactly.
And another fires.
Exactly. We are distinguishing between these continuous sources. And actually, there's another business model. Monitoring flares is very interesting to see the activity of gas flares, or of how is this called? Of basically all oil and gas sites.
So would they pay you to observe that, or would they pay you to not observe that?
That's the question.
Right.
But this is something for the future.
Sure.
Yeah.
Very interesting. So you have 10 satellites now, and you talked about you said the coverage rate, right? The update potential was not where you wanted it to be.
No,
but where is it right now?
We have a target. So our target is to launch about 100 satellites.
Okay.
We could even launch more, but these 100 satellites will allow a 30 minutes revisit globally.
Okay.
We could even go higher if there's an incident happening or some high wildfire risk, but targeting the satellites. But what we see that most fire agencies we've spoken so far, that 30 minutes is like the holy grail of revisit, also allowing them 30 minutes preparedness to answer to the wildfire.
I see.
And the other thing is that we're detecting the fire in a very early spot. So like nearly the size of a car.
Wow.
So if you get it early enough, it also moves very slow still.
Right.
So 30 minutes is fully enough, but you get it early. Our satellites are AI equipped, so they basically detect this fire in space and send it down.
I didn't know there's fire in space.
When they fly over it, the camera directly detects it. There's a small NVIDIA chip on the satellite.
Oh, really?
Actually, yeah.
Oh, wow.
We do the same when you do on ground, we do in space now.
I see.
And with this NVIDIA chip, we see that there's a fire, we analyze it, and then we can set it down on the direct line. So you don't need to wait until you have downloaded this gigabytes of data every orbit. You download just the fire perimeter with all the fire analytics behind.
I see. So that's all done on the satellite.
That's all done on the satellite. And then we use, on the one hand, the Iridium network, which sends the data to further to the sky. And then we get it down.
Well, because you're in low Earth orbit.
Yeah.
Right.
So we can
250.
450 to
400K.
550. Yeah.
Okay.
And
I
but we
see
can send
miles
it up.
for my
Yeah.
local audience. Yeah. And then
Yeah,
from
miles,
there, you send
true.
it up to what, 60,000 or
No, a
50,000
little bit.
kilometers?
Iridium is also very low above it, just a little
Okay.
bit above us.
Oh, I see.
So it's
Right in the neighborhood.
It's right in the neighborhood, yes, you
Okay.
could say this way. And the other part is we also have a special antenna on it where we can send it down directly. So for example, if you have an active incident or if we have a fire station, you can equip it with such a small antenna. It's like this size.
Yeah.
The antenna does need to move. So it's not like these big satellite dishes which are moving with the satellite as the satellite passes over.
Right.
And you can download it to this also. So you could get this fire information without any way in between directly, for example, into your car also.
Right from the satellite.
Right from the
down
satellite.
to your- Wow. So this is going to really change the game in terms of our ability to collect observational data
Exactly.
about a real-time fire.
Exactly. This changes the game and you really minimize the time, the delay. And having the data as quick as possible is actually the key. It doesn't help if you get it the next day.
I see.
The
Yeah.
next day it's anyway different.
Right.
You want to have it as quick as possible.
So your ability to deliver data currently exceeds incident command's ability to process and plan around that data. Because typically right now in the US, incident command generates a new plan every 12 hours.
Yes.
And so, and that's maybe because previously, that's all the data you could get once or twice a day. But now if you can get data every 30 minutes, is that going to put pressure on the incident command teams to rework the way they assign suppression plans?
I don't think so that there will be pressure. I think we will work together with them and add ability.
Yeah.
On the one hand, there will always stay, I think, this incident action plan they release in the morning and in the evening, it will always stay. And that's also why we focus our first constellation to provide data for exactly these plans. But still they are flying with airplanes on the day. But as you saw in the LA fires, they had so high winds.
Yeah.
Many days they couldn't fly, so they had actually zero situational awareness. And satellites have the advantage that they can always fly. There's no wind in space.
Right.
So if there's a high wind and you want to do an evacuation, for example, you need to know where the fire is. I was watching American TV and I heard people saying, hey, we were evacuated going down the street and suddenly there was a fire and no one told us about it.
Right.
Yeah, and this is one of the things we want to solve with this. So providing situational awareness in any case, if you can fly or not, and always complementary. So even our algorithm can ingest data from airplanes or from towers, etc. It's always complementary and provide the best situational awareness.
I see. Do you think that I think it is. I think it's arbitrary that they don't fly at 30 miles an hour, right? If we had terrorists and we have to go bomb them, they're not going to say, oh, we can't do it right now. The winds are over 30 miles an hour, right? They've got equipment that could do it. We're just choosing not to deploy aircraft in those circumstances. But I think that's dangerous because it's the wind-driven fires, right, that generate most of the damage. And yet in those wind conditions is when our main asset is grounded.
Yeah.
So we're really reliant on satellites at that time.
The fire is often traveling at the speed of the wind. So if it's 30 miles per hour wind, then you can't do anything, and it's just moving.
Do you ever get circumstances where the fire is going faster than the wind because of the radiant heat coming forward from it?
I don't want to be the fire scientist here.
Okay.
In the afternoon, we have a meeting with 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐿𝐷, and they have a wind tunnel, and they simulate this high winds. I'm very curious to learn about this works at the 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐿Dh down.
I see.
Okay. Down the hill. It will be interesting to learn about it, but if I know that there are scientists at this level, I can't say anything.
Right.
Yeah.
But you can probably give them data that allows them to corroborate whether their theoretical model matches reality.
That's what we want to do. That's what we want to do.
And then they can train their model up better off of your data.
Exactly. So you need to bring together all these different data sources We even want to include data of dropped fire retardant, for example, because this is basically a fire break which you can put in your model again and then understand how the fire will further move.
I see. Yeah, and I saw in the latest version of the software, you can draw in a fire break.
Exactly.
And then you can run the model again, and it'll tell you, well, based on what you are planning to do, then here's how it's going to impact the fire break.
Exactly. And in the next version, you basically get live fire retardant drops in the software. So you can combine all of
Oh, I
data
see.
sources.
So when a fire drop happens,
Exactly.
it'll incorporate
The
it.
idea is really to have this data combination from different sources, where our satellite data, of course, plays a crucial role because it tells you where the fire is at the moment. But then you add all these different kinds of data to provide a perfect situation awareness overview.
I see.
Because it doesn't work if things are not working together. You need to bring everything together as good as possible, that these people who are actually in the fire, on the fire line, in the forest, are basically secured so that they are safe.
Right. And so there's a lot of collaboration required in order to get the most accurate, up-to-date current picture and future picture. But yet you have a lot of siloed information.
Yes.
Right. So you have the military satellites might have all the data you need, but you can't get to it.
Exactly.
And you have 𝐻𝐻𝐿VA doing their prediction, SimTable doing their prediction, SkyTL doing their prediction. So at what point are we going to see a convergence where all the different technologies are being used simultaneously?
I can't tell you what point. I would love it. But
or what efforts do you think are happening to bring the different perspectives together?
I can tell you this is one of the reasons why we expanded now to the US with a local presence, and why we also decided that we're investing over the next years multiple millions into expanding it, into understanding how to do product market fit, into understanding how it works here. Because without really understanding how it's done today, without being together with everyone who is currently fighting it in the same area, it doesn't work.
So you're putting millions of dollars into this.
Yeah.
Where did you get these millions of dollars?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I'm just curious, like who's investing, right? Which investors are recognizing that wildfire is both a huge problem and a huge opportunity?
That's a good question, because at the very beginning, when we founded the company, I told everyone we're going towards wildfires, and everyone said, "This is no market. What are you doing?" And we are just learning that wildfires are a huge market. It's not a huge market it's from a startup perspective. Yes, I don't want to make a market about saving lives, but it's basically a market if you want to get an airplane observation, but there is no airplane. You don't get it fulfilled. Or, for example, airplanes are crashing. We have a customer in Quebec, they're flying daily grid patterns.
Well,
substituting these flights, especially when they can't fly, if there's too much wind, etc., this is the opportunity for us. And this is something also our investors recognized in the meantime, that there's something going on. LA fires, I read numbers online that they were costing about 130 to 250 billion of economic losses, damages, insured losses. Insured is nearly nothing compared, and so on. So somehow someone is paying it. The only thing is now, how can we reduce these damages, or even protect what we have, protect the nature, protect animals, protect houses, etc.
Yeah.
And for investors, we are backed from several from high net worth individuals to in the meantime many institutional investors. So a broad range, I would say, with 20 to 25 already. So hard to go into detail there.
Yeah. So it looks like that when you have wildfire, you have huge losses, right? But those losses aren't necessarily the economic responsibility of the people who are suffering the loss.
Exactly.
Right. So getting a payer is complicated, right? because let's say it's the insurance companies that are really losing out the most. It would make the most sense then for them to reduce their risk by funding your efforts to feed the capability of the fire departments.
And in this sense, you have seen that insurance companies bailed out of all these risky areas.
Right.
So they are not procuring more technology to solve it. They are basically going out. In LA, just 30 billion were insured from this huge amount.
Wow.
So it's not a lot.
About 15%. Maybe.
We need to find other ways.
And in addition to what I would broadly characterize as observational technology, satellites, sensors, and cameras, we also have to increase our ability to have direct suppression.
Yeah.
Because all the data in the world does you no good if you don't have a tool to put the fire out. What are you seeing in the progress on that side?
What I learned about direct suppression is, and LA fire is again a good example where they got help from everywhere in the world. And even Africa I was reading about. So just adding 10%, 20% more air tankers, more ground suppression, etc. This is not solving it. No. Because we will need 10, 50 times the amount. So adding something is still very important. So you need more air tankers, you need more people, you need people educated, you need firefighters. But when something happens, and these big incidents are often for over several weeks, when something happens, the data allows us to use the resources we have in a much more efficient way. So think about the story I told at the beginning. They're reacting to a 911 call and there's nothing, there's no fire.
Right.
I heard about, there's a fire. There was a fire reported, but it was actually the moon rising.
The moon rising, no kidding.
Yeah, no kidding. And this is wasted.
Were they able to put it out?
The moon went higher thing, and then it wasn't that orange anymore.
Right.
Yeah. But think about this. The idea is to use the resources you have as efficient as possible.
Yes.
If you have 50 fires ongoing, if you know which fire is the one which is soon going to hit structures, homes, infrastructure, power lines, whatever, then you're just focusing on this one. And with accurate data, with the modeling capabilities, you can direct all your efforts much more efficient.
To the devastation fire.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah, because there's a misconception, I think, right? That because there's a fire, we have to do something about it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fires that should be allowed to burn because they're just consuming excess fuels in the ground. They're not threatening anybody.
Exactly. There are also good fires. That's true. But then at the moment, I think we have a big challenge because there are many devastating fires. And we still need to understand which of the devastating fires is actually threatening us. Because if you do it right, also if you send the people to the right fire at the right time, early enough, if you react to a fire which will grow early enough, then it's different. We had a fire in Greece, I think 2 years ago.
Yes.
If I'm not wrong, yeah.
I think you had 50 fires that day.
Yeah, this marathon fire.
Yeah.
And we did a simulation on the first or second day of the fire.
Okay.
And the simulation told us that the fire is hitting the city. So we were, of course, sharing this information. But in the current procedures, they still needed to wait 2 days to ask for European help because there's a European association to support suppression efforts.
Yes.
But they needed to wait until the fire has a specific size to get this support. And think about if we understand the fire early enough here, we get this immersive support much early before it's at this size. And then you're throwing extreme amount of suppression effort on a small fire before it's deflating.
Right.
So getting ahead of it is number one.
Right.
So you need more efforts, you need more airplanes, you need more firefighters, but then getting them in it could be overreacting for a few then because you're suddenly reacting with 10 times the effort on a tiny fire. But if you do it early enough, then it's gone and then you're safe.
Because you see a critical choke point, right? The fire is advancing and then there's some mountains and it comes narrow and that's the opportunity to stop it from advancing to the next, right?
And what I learned
Yeah.
very often, it needs days to get people and infrastructure to the fire.
So they need early notice.
Yeah. Flying an airplane from one side across America to the other side with fire retardant, etc., can take 6 hours, 12 hours.
Yes.
So,
So
I think you get it.
Let me ask you another question then. How do you balance the business side versus the humanitarian side? Because let's say you spot a fire, it's in Greece, you know, you're playing around on the computer and you're looking at the predictive model and you say, wow, that's going to hit Athens in 48 hours.
Yeah.
But Athens is not one of our clients. So do we call and we tell them what's going on, or do we say, I have some very valuable information. Would you like to sign up for our program?
If we know something this fast, if we really, the thing is, you also need to look at the fires in a continuous way. But if there's something big happening where we see it, then we are reaching out with the information. We're also posting our information on X and Facebook and LinkedIn if we have it, because it's valuable for everyone. But of course, I think the biggest challenge is not sending over the information, but actually having someone to react on it. And this needs a lot of policy changes.
Yes.
Having this information, we simulate it, doesn't change anything, because without a contract, and normally it's hard to trust the simulation coming in. I understand it fully. You need to build up trust. But on the other hand, implementing these policy changes, that this new data we are providing basically also creates an action. This is the biggest challenge. It's not about sharing. Normally, it's not happening a lot if we share something.
Right, I see. And is there a plan for like an OroraTech overlay on watch duty or something like that?
We are open to cooperate with everyone, because we understood that you need to bring together different data sources. That's the only way.
Well, you're doing a great job with it. And folks, if you haven't seen the OroraTech screen, you can go to the OroraTech website and you can see a sample, and you'll literally see, every hotspot on the planet laid out. And whenever you look at it, it always looks like the whole planet's on fire.
That's true. That's true. That's very sad. But there's a lot of natural fire too. You see agricultural burns, which are normal. So it's
prescribed fire.
Prescribed fire. So it's not that bad. Not every fire here is a bad fire,
but if you're a firefighter, every dot you see on the map, your adrenaline goes up.
Exactly.
Yeah, very fascinating. Well, I'm so impressed at the progress you've made in such a short time, and welcome to the United States. And I think this is going to be such a valuable addition to tools in the fire toolkit here.
Thanks, Steve. We are so happy that we're bringing OroraTech USA here now, and I'm also so happy about the warm welcome I'm receiving at the opening event we had from everyone, the German American Chamber and everyone who is supporting us here. And you're taking the interview with me already now, so thanks a lot.
You're so welcome.
And thanks for spreading the message.
Thomas Grübler, President and CEO of OroraTech and OroraTech USA.
Exactly.
Right. Welcome. We've been watching The Fire Break. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you on the next one.